Welcome to a special edition of the Daily Insider here on Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers. Super Bowl 56 is set. It's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals against the Los Angeles Rams at SoFi Stadium coming up 2 weeks from today. And second straight season, we're going to see a home team playing in their stadium. Last year was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this time, the Los Angeles Rams, they come back to beat San Francisco 20-17. Now we bring on not really our first guest, kind of my co-host for tonight, Tommy Freeze Pops, Tom Carroll. He is, of course, the co-host and executive producer of the Great Dane Nation podcast with Morten Andersen, who will be joining us. Spoiler alert, Morten will be joining us coming up a little bit later on. So looking forward to that. Joe Murray, also from 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston. He will join us as well. Tommy, boy, oh boy. I mean, let's begin with this. First, here is the opening line. Rams laying 3.5 against the Bengals. That's from BetMGM, total of 49.5. We'll see this thing bounce around a bit. I'm already seeing now some of the numbers up to 50, 50.5. I guess opening thoughts on what you see as far as the not only the matchup, but the opening numbers.
Well, I think it's no surprise here that the Rams are the favorites at minus 165 because they have the home field advantage, right? And the Bengals are still an underdog story getting all the way to the Super Bowl. I know they've been red hot. We all love the Bengals right now. Ohio Joe getting all the way to the big game in year 2. But, I mean, the Rams just got it done on their home turf. They still have the most dominant player in the NFL in the middle of that defensive line. And the Bengals clearly have offensive line problems. Burrow has been running for his life all postseason. We saw what happened against Tennessee. I think he was on his back like 9 times. So to have that Rams front having to try and stop Donald and Von Miller and that whole beastly defense that LA has, it's going to be kind of tricky for Cincinnati. I'm not counting them out, but I just understand why the Rams are opening as the favorites here at minus 165.
Yeah, and, obviously the Rams, the better team here, NFC West champions. Bengals did win their division, and when you look at what unfolded today, and in case you're just joining us, Rams came back, beat the 49ers 20-17, didn't cover the 3.5 at home. And what's funny, I guess we'll start backwards with this, the late game as opposed to the early game, that Jimmy Garoppolo had that one pass at the end, had that crazy Matthew Stafford type pass that he's getting pressured. Let me throw the ball up in the air and see what happens. And that was intercepted. The Rams kneeled on it and they got out of there and won the game. But you almost had a crazy pick 6 there where the Rams almost got the front door cover against San Francisco. But a really good job there by LA to beat San Francisco down 17-7, coming back. And also, Tom, ending a 6-game losing streak to the 49ers in the process, because Kyle Shanahan had Sean McVay's number. These guys were assistants in Washington for a little bit, and he had his number. McVay, this would be a tough one to live down if they lost again to the 49ers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been seeing some stuff on like media blogs and people that cover media as Sean McVay being someone that could be in a booth next season. I think he's far, far away from being in a television booth. He's still a very good football coach. I know that there were some questionable decisions down the stretch with challenges, but like that's just, heat of the game stuff. I don't really put a ton of stock into that. Sean McVay has completely turned that franchise around. He's one of the best offensive minds in the league. He got that monkey off of his back where he couldn't beat his buddy Kyle Shanahan. And Kyle Shanahan really wearing egg on his face here with losing another game where he was up, just managing a game down the stretch. And I know Jimmy Garoppolo isn't a world beater at quarterback, but again, we see Kyle Shanahan-led offenses unable to hold leads in big games. We saw it in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Obviously, we saw it when he was the OC with the Falcons, and now here in the NFC Championship game. So good on McVay for getting the job done. And the Rams, here we go again, another home Super Bowl team. Is this just going to be the new norm here? We always talk about new norms. 2 straight years, and we never had it before. I guess if you count the Rose Bowl as a home field for a few teams back in the day, but like, this is crazy.
No, and you know what? I hate to say this, Tom. There was a lot of pressure, I think, on the Rams because you had the game at home coming up in 2 weeks. That it's
Mhm.
one thing, if you don't make the Super Bowl at all or you lose early on in the playoffs with the game in your home stadium. But I mean, we've seen a lot of times where the games are in Detroit or at MetLife Stadium. These teams aren't going to the Super Bowl, but the Rams to have the NFC Championship at home, and then if they were to lose that and then see their arch rivals playing in the Super Bowl in their home stadium, you're like, come on. So, but good job, Matthew Stafford. And then you look at the other game. My God, Joe Burrow and the Bengals
Wow.
down 21-3, and they come back, they tie it up, they go to overtime, and we'll talk about this with Morton coming up. I mean, Morton, he went to a Super Bowl kicking the Falcons into it. Evan McPherson, I mean, just freaking nails in the entire
So good.
playoffs what he's done. But Joe Burrow, though, Tom, this is a guy that was number one pick last year, tore his ACL. Bengals won 4 games. You think going into this year, all right, tough AFC North, maybe they'll be better. I mean, you're playing for the Super Bowl now. I mean, that's just amazing what you're able to do to win that game at Arrowhead down 21-3.
It's remarkable. It's been such a fun story to follow. And Kevin, last year on Great Dane Nation, you would come on the podcast and we would hit on the Bengals from time to time because even though they were losing games, I feel like in Burrow's rookie year, they were hanging around. I mean, they were covering quite a bit while Burrow was at the helm before that injury. And then he got hurt and then things went downhill. But for a little bit there was a spark where you're like, oh, okay, Burrow's making a difference here. He's going to be legit. And then he rehabbed like a beast this offseason and he was ready to rock. I mean, there was questions on whether or not he was going to be ready to go to start the year. And he hit the ground running. Bengals turned this thing around. They were kind of wavering in the middle of the year. They kind of had a tough schedule, and it's just been so fun to watch. They were not going to take no for an answer. And here we are now with the Cincinnati Bengals. They hadn't won a playoff game since 1990, and now they're in the Super Bowl. So hats off to them. I'm rooting for the Bengals. Are we allowed to say that? I think I
say
can
whatever
be
you
biased
want.
here.
I mean,
yeah, I'm rooting for
giving
the Bengals.
Tom, I'm giving out best bets on these videos, and I'm picking a side, so I got to root for someone. I mean, in my best bet videos, I had the under of 54.5 in the AFC Championship, and watching that game unfold, I'm feeling pretty good about it. And Patrick Mahomes makes that boneheaded play on that interception, and I'm thinking, you're better than this, man. Like, you got no bet. You're trying to do too much at
Yeah.
times, and they still come back at the end. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I think, rushed for about 150 yards today. I mean, maybe it wasn't positive yardage, but him going back and forth, looking for receivers. No one's open. He's running all around. But go back to Joe Burrow for a second. Last week against Tennessee, Joe Burrow was getting destroyed back there. 9 sacks. Tennessee's got an excellent defensive line. But today, it felt like every time someone got a hand on Burrow, he just wouldn't go down. That he was just escaping. Like, I mean, he was like Michael Vick back there.
Right. No, his escapability has been, something that was underrated, I think, coming into this season. But he kind of looks like vintage Ben Roethlisberger back there, right? Like you think he's down and then he somehow escapes and then he throws the ball where he needs to. And I said this during the game with the Mahomes scrambling behind the line of scrimmage thing. He's got to be the career postseason leader in scrambling yards behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, and that's a part of his game, right? Like he makes something out of nothing. But hats off to that Bengals defensive line. They've been one of the best units in the league all season long. They invested in that unit. Trey Hendrickson has been awesome for Cincinnati. Hubbard was fantastic today. And the Chiefs' offensive line just ran out of steam. Kansas City invested a ton of money into that unit this offseason, and it looks like second half came around and they just didn't have it. Cincinnati's D-line took over, and I think that was the main reason why Cincinnati was able to come back and win that game, because when you're shutting down Kansas City's offense, I mean, who can say they've done that since Mahomes took over at quarterback? There's like 3 teams that have done it since then. So It's just been such a fun ride. Who day, baby? I'm all in. I'm all in on Cincinnati.
Well, think about this too for a second, Tom, that the Chiefs up 21-3. Bengals scored late in the half to make it 21-10. Chiefs went right down the field. And this was kind of outsmarting yourself a little bit. They went a little Brandon Staley here, which I was a little disappointed in, because they kick a field goal 24-10. You're up by 2 touchdowns. They went for the jugular, and they had no timeouts left. Mahomes hit Tyreek Hill. Great tackle there, kept him in bounds. Time ran out. All of a sudden, you're still up 21-10, and you left the door open for Cincinnati. The Chiefs scored 3 points the rest of the way, and that was on that final drive, which maybe you thought, okay, the Chiefs are going to come back, going to score a touchdown, win this game, and they're going to disappoint the Bengals. But 3 points in the final 2 quarters, plus your drive in overtime, that's an extremely impressive job by the Bengals defense.
Totally. And yeah, the Chiefs with some questionable decisions happening both on the sidelines by their coaching staff and by Mahomes with the ball on the field at the end of the game there, where he just kept scrambling behind the line of scrimmage, looking for someone, looking, and he ended up taking like a 20-plus yard sack that put them out of touchdown range. And I know that they were kind of trying to decide, okay, do we let time run out here? And Romo was talking crazy on the broadcast, like, oh, just run it down and kneel on the one, and all sorts of craziness. I mean, if Butker doesn't make that field goal, this thing ends in regulation. So that, that big ovation that the Kansas City crowd gave the Chiefs for winning the toss, we never have that moment, right? Like, it was interesting to see Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid kind of make some weird decisions there down the stretch. But, Andy Reid kind of has a history of this. I hate to say it. He's a great coach. He's one of the all-time leader in wins, but occasionally in the big game, I guess if you play in enough of them, this is going to happen to you. But, weird things happen. They got a little cocky there at the end of the first half. They're like, oh, we're already up 21-10. Like you said, they tried to go for the jugular, and they left the door open there for Cincinnati. You can't do that for Joe Burrow. They taught the NFL a lesson. Everyone should take note. You cannot leave the door open for Joe Burrow. Can't do it.
Oh, and by the way, too, 3 straight unders for the Bengals in the playoffs. They allowed 24 points to the Chiefs, which is very impressive. 16 to Tennessee, 19 to Las Vegas. That's not being talked about enough. You look at Burrow and Jamar Chase and those guys, even Evan McPherson. I mean, all 3 of those guys drafted by the Bengals. I mean, Burrow obviously number 1 pick, but still a great job by Cincinnati. So if you're just joining us, Rams laying 3.5 against the Bengals, Super Bowl 56, total 49.5 at SoFi Stadium in 2 weeks. That's at BetMGM. I'm Kevin Rogers along with Tom Carroll, and we're going to bring on Joe Murray, who is of 98.5 The Sports Hub up in Boston. And he is joining us now to talk about Super Bowl 56. And Joe, welcome. Good to see you. And your thoughts, at least on this opening line with the Rams favorite at home. I mean, in a sense, at home, neutral site, but they're the home team.
Yeah, that actually was kind of funny to me. The Bengals will be the home team, even though the Rams will be playing, of course, back-to-back weeks. And, of course, back-to-back Super Bowls here now. Of course, the home team is playing at home. But I like what I just saw. I mean, the Rams came back, they won a game, and they made a defensive play to win. The Rams are all in, guys. We know it. And listen, they finally got the monkey off their back. They lost to that team 6 times in a row. Stafford played bad against them the last couple of games this year. So they finally got that off their back. They slayed Tom Brady also, if you think about it. So I think this is all Rams, and I'm not shocked that they're 3.5-point favorites. I know Circa has it at 4. But the line's going to be between 3.5 and 4 for the next 2 weeks. My thing is this, though. Who has the advantage here, and where's the value? I don't know if the Bengals can do it 4 weeks in a row here now on the road. But, man, I think that the handle is going to be rooting for the underdog in about 2 weeks here. And Joe Burrow, first quarterback to make a Super Bowl his first 2 seasons, and we have 2 number 1 picks going at it in the Super Bowl. This should be exciting.
Well, and also, Joe, the other thing to put out there, the 49ers, you think the 49ers ran out of gas? You just mentioned Cincinnati now going back on the road again for a 3rd straight week. Do you think that San Francisco ran out of gas here, up 17-7? They're, in a sense, 4th straight elimination game going back to week 18.
I don't, but I followed Jimmy Garoppolo for years. Tommy, we've seen him.
Oh, yeah.
I respect Garoppolo. but he's going to get hell for what happened in this final drive here. He's going to be held to that standard as a guy that can win you games, has a great record, can get you there, but can he finish? Maybe he's the one that maybe wore down. Shoulder injury, thumb injury. The kid's got heart. He's a winner, but maybe he's the one that the defense did its job. But I think Garoppolo, in the long run, slowed down a little bit today.
Yeah, and look, he's 38-16 as a starter, which is insane, right? But he's been on some incredible teams. And, I was talking with some buddies in a group chat, and someone was like, well, imagine if Brady was the quarterback of either one of these teams right now, how different their seasons would have been. Stafford seems like he's dealing with something here down the stretch. His play is sort of dipped. Jimmy G, again, we saw in New England for years, and at the beginning of his Niners career, the guy just can't stay healthy. So he wore down towards the end. Trey Lance is going to be the guy there next year, whether he's ready or not. Clearly, he wasn't the guy that the Niners thought he was going to be when they drafted him in the draft this past spring. Because there's no way you pick a guy number 3 with Jimmy Garoppolo at your quarterback, and the plan is let's use this guy marginally during his rookie year. That's just not how the NFL works now. You have to maximize that rookie deal. And so the Jimmy G thing, it was fun. It was fun for us Pats fans that still root for Jimmy G elsewhere, but that experiment is over. Trey Lance is going to be the guy there.
Let's credit him, though. He covered, right?
He did. Got it.
Guys, all week long, I'm not trying to brag about this. I was on Rams minus 130 hook, buying the all week long. And everyone's like, don't buy the hook. I feel good about it, even though Jimmy G covered again.
Now, what about this one, Joe? Going to the opposite side with Matthew Stafford, that the Rams, they took a risk here by Jared Goff. He went to a Super Bowl a few years ago. We know the offense did nothing in that game against the Patriots. But they made this choice to get Matthew Stafford, who was in purgatory in Detroit for so long, never won a playoff game. We knew how talented he was. Now Stafford goes to L.A. He's got Cooper Kupp, who put up the best numbers in the NFL. They get Beckham late in the season to help out. That now Matthew Stafford, it's almost like a celebration for him that he finally got over the hump as a number 1 pick and finally got to a Super Bowl.
I think everything's in the cards right now for the Rams to win the Super Bowl. Right at this point, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, Donald in the middle, Ramsey on the outside. They're loaded. They can get to Joe Burrow, and they can play defense on those receivers. So at this point, yes, the Rams should be favored. I think it's going to go to 4, guys. I think this thing's going to move between 3.5, 4 for the next 2 weeks. But, I think Stafford should have a big game. If you're looking at individual props, I'd look at his yardage total. He ran a little bit today, too. Maybe that's something he does. But, yeah, I think this is the Rams. And I think I want to throw this out there. The Bengals have only lost 2 games all season long by 7 points or more. So this is 3.5. It could be at 4. When I see that number, I immediately think Rams. I also think the public's going to be on the dog, which could move that line down a little bit here. So off the bat, I like the Rams to win the Super Bowl. But do I like it at 3.5 or 4? I'm not there yet. But if I had to bet on it right now, I would.
And it sounds like you're kind of leaning the under here too, right? If you think the Rams are going to give Burrow a lot of trouble back there, that tells me not going to see a big game from that Bengals offense. You think an under 49.5 at this point? Does it even stay at that number? Does that number go down?
51. I'm going to tell you, I saw 49.5. I saw 50, 51. That's going to move. That thing is going to go up, right? This is going to be just think about it, a casual fans going to bet on the Super Bowl, right? There's access all over the place. That's a 49.5 to bet that thing up a little bit. As far as the number, yeah. Right? I mean, if Cincinnati's going to be in this game, they got to score points. I think they're going to have trouble scoring points. Both teams are going to have to run the football more. So, I think Stafford's going to have the big day. But, yeah, as far as the total goes, at the moment, I'm leaning under for the simple fact that I think the Bengals will have to do more than just looking downfield. They could be without their starting tight end. So, that's going to take up the middle of the field. Maybe they can run the middle of the field to take advantage of that.
So we've seen three consecutive unders, guys, in the Super Bowl. Last year, Bucks over the Chiefs under 55. Chiefs over the Niners 2 years ago under 53 barely. Patriots Rams no shot at it under 56. So we're could be leaning towards a 50, but are we due now for an over in the Super Bowl after we've seen three, I don't want to say low scoring games because Chiefs Niners was pretty good, but two not so high scoring games during the stretch?
I'll say I think the trend may continue, only for the simple fact that the Rams defense is good. It deserves respect. If they get at Burrow, it's going to be a long day for the Bengals. I can see the Rams getting ahead, going back to their running game, and just being, like one of those like 27-10, the Bengals get a late touchdown or something to make it interesting. But I just don't see fireworks right off the bat right now.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of what Joe said, Aaron Donald is in the middle of that defensive line for the Rams with Von Miller on the end. And think about how difficult the time the Bengals offensive line has had dealing with these other defensive fronts so far. And, the Chiefs, their defense has really turned around the second half of the year. But, we're talking about maybe the best interior defensive lineman of all time and one of the 10 best edge rushers of all time who's still playing really good football, going up against an offensive line where people were, screaming from the mountaintops for them to draft Penei Sewell this past spring, and they went with Chase, and he's been fantastic. But what do they look like right now if they have Sewell on that offensive line? All of their other skill position guys are really good. Chase was fantastic, but it really goes back to that like draft philosophy thing where are people valuing receivers too high? You have to fix your line of scrimmage before you can kind of worry about everything else. I know Joe's a huge offensive line enthusiast like myself, but that watching the Bengals all season long, I actually, laid a few dollars down on Chase to win offensive rookie of the year. I got it at like plus 1,300 before the season started. Yeah, because I bet it like the day after. Remember that story broke where he wasn't seeing the ball correctly in training camp because he didn't have the white line on it. Something weird. Like I was like, I'm just going to throw some money down, and I really hope that cashes. I think Mac Jones might still win, but I don't know. It's kind of an interesting what if because we know how football works. How often are the Bengals going to get back to the Super Bowl here? Who the hell knows? They could never get back the way this game. Dan Marino went to one Super Bowl, right? So are Bengals fans going to be like begrudgingly rooting on Jamar Chase the rest of his career when they know maybe if they just had the right tackle in place here, the right left tackle, I should say, maybe we'd be talking about this game a little differently.
One last thing I just want to mention on the total. I believe the Bengals have only given up 56 points in the playoffs. They gave up 24 today, so 60, right? So, yeah, they've given up 60 points in 3 games. Where if we look up the Rams, obviously today, 20s, 30s again. So the Bengals have been a better defense. I hate to say it. Who would believe that going into
it's crazy.
I think it's going to be a shootout at this point, a high-scoring team.
Want to welcome in now our buddy Dave Sharapan. He's got the Rams gear on. He's ready, former odds maker. Dave, good to see you again. And your thoughts on this opening line with the Rams laying 3.5 to the Bengals?
Well, anyone that had 51, it's already gone. I just jumped in and heard you guys talking about the defense. It's been blasted down. It's 50s. Somebody's already peaking here at 49.5, it looks like. Yep. It's funny because, you get that initial money right away and you don't know. You got 2 weeks. This is the longest the line sits other than week 1 for the NFL ever. And I don't think we're going to see much more movement on this. This is going to settle right around here. I'm getting barrages of texts and stuff right now. Use 3.5 or 4. Obviously use the higher number. At least here in Vegas, you get all that LA money. That was a no-brainer. So anybody that had 3.5 is already at 4. Pretty much painted 4. Good stuff. I didn't think that I was hoping that one of the games lived up to half of what we saw last week, and we get another unbelievable day of football. Crazy stuff, K-Rush.
Dave, how surprised are you, at least of what the Bengals did today? Because honestly, I thought they had no shot. And before it was 21-3, and then obviously 21-3, you could bury them. But then Burrow came back. I mean, it goes both ways. A melt by the Chiefs, but also Burrow and the Bengals, great job. I mean, how surprised were you by them coming back and winning that game today?
Well, I have yet to watch the first half. I was out all day, so I got to watch the first half. But I was still at the fields, and somebody was going crazy that Andy Reid didn't kick a field goal right before the half. And, these dads and these other coaches were like, they're going to blow the game because of that. I was like, guys, relax. It's 21-10, calm down. And they said, no, that was just a bad coaching move. And so that debate started, and then I got to watch, the back end of the game, and I really wasn't surprised, Kevin. I thought the line was high to begin with. I was dressing like Burrow all week, everything I went on. I got the Bengals hat. I got the glasses right here. I've been wearing these things on every show I could go on. Between this and this Joe Burrow hat right here, I've been talking about the Bengals all week, baby. I'm all in with Joe B. So I thought the total would go over. That's the one thing I thought, that just no matter how high we could set this total, it didn't get there, but it did. It stayed under. That was the most surprising thing for me.
That field goal gets it there too.
Right?
At least 54 if it does. So you're right.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, that's how close these things are. These lines are snare drum tight. I mean, the Rams games falls 3. There was books very hesitant to bounce to 3. And then they did, and immediately got a bet. And anyone that peaked at 4 immediately got a bet. And the game falls 20-17 and falls 3. Half the money got to be given back. That's the worst part about it for the book. Everybody had under in the second game. That line that's what moved the most in these games. The whole week was the total in the Rams and Niners game moved almost 2 points. So I'll be interested to hear how, if any of the books are actually crying. Because, I mean, I don't know what this is going to do for handle. Somebody just, how do you think the handle is going to be because Cincinnati's in it? I think the handle's going to be phenomenal.
Now, Dave, what is the factor with the Rams playing, in a sense, at home at SoFi Stadium? We saw the Bucs last year as an underdog against the Chiefs at home. But how much was it put into the line as far as the Rams? I know they're not technically the home team, but the Rams having a home field advantage, any factor there or no?
I think Oddsmakers may have underestimated that a little bit last year. And I think that this one, I'm not saying it's overestimated right now, Kev, but I think it's factored in a little bit more than it was last year. It's crazy. It didn't happen ever. And then it happens 2 years in a row. I mean, we talk about this stuff all the time that nobody knows squadouche. But man, oh man, the Rams at home against the Bengals. You could have told me that you had Biff's almanac at the beginning of the season, and I wouldn't have believed you. I'd have said, nope, no DeLorean, no Biff, no book. The Rams are not going to be hosting the Super Bowl against the Cincinnati Bengals at any point this season.
So, guys, the question for both of you here, Joe, we'll have you go first. Is there a storyline that could come up over the next 2 weeks that we think could impact any of the over under here, the total, at Rams minus 3.5, Bengals plus 3.5? Like, is there any storyline that we think could impact any of these numbers here for the Super Bowl 56?
No, but the one guy I am thinking of is Odell Beckham Jr. He chose the Rams. He made the right decision. He's helped them and put them over the top. But what could he say or do these next 2 weeks that could, maybe have people not favor the Rams or maybe even a player prop total? But he's a wild card I'd watch this week. And that could sway things a little bit if you like the Rams or not.
I got one for you. If Cooper Kupp don't play, it's going to change everything. Cooper Kupp is, I'm so glad. I joked that there's probably reason number 895,622 why I'm glad I'm a media guy now and not an odds maker trying to book this stuff. These Cooper Cup props, doesn't matter what you make the number. Everybody knows he's going to get the ball. His reception's over. His yards over. His touchdown prop, yes. It's just check, 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 check. It's unbelievable. And if he don't play or like something would happen in Cooper Cup, okay, that might be a storyline that might move that stuff. And Joe's right. I mean, Odell Beckham it's unbelievable. The stories, the narratives we're going to have to talk about for 2 weeks. We got so much material. It's going to be great. But as far as the numbers and the odds, I don't think there's much. I mean, other than Cup, like, I don't know, kicked in the Cup. I'm trying to come up with all the puns that I'm going to use for the next 2 weeks about Cooper Cup. It's amazing.
All right, gentlemen. Early predictions. I know the game just ended and the line dropped 15 minutes ago, but predictions on Super Bowl 56 or the old wait and see?
Early Rams for me, but we'll wait and see how it goes. The total, I agree. I think the total will be right around that 49-50.
Yeah,
Dave?
I mean, it feels like it's Rams or nothing right now. Like how is Cincinnati going to move the ball continuously? Are they going to be able to score enough to keep up with the Rams? Feels like a dead under too. Feels like a dead under. 24-17, something like that. Rams win, game stays under.
Joe Murray, 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston. And also you can check out your podcast. Tell us about your podcast really quick, Joe, before we get out of here.
Over Under podcast every Thursday, and we're on Saturdays in Boston, and we'll be doing a ton of prop bets this week, getting ready for Super Bowl.
And Dave Sharapan, you can find him on Twitter, Sports BK Consig, and he will be on tomorrow exclusively at noon on the Daily Insider. So check that out.
Thanks, Kev. I'll see
you.
We got
more of that coming tomorrow. Joe, Dave, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks guys.
For having me.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. So able to get Dave and Joe on. And
it was nice little surprise entrance there by Sharapan. But look, they're kind of speaking the language that I'm feeling, Kevin, with the under. I'm feeling the Rams at that number. I just feel like maybe the carriage turns into a pumpkin here for the Bengals at midnight. But we'll get to our official predictions here at the end of the show. But I wanted to throw this by you while we wait for Morten to come on. Morten Andersen of Great Dane Nation, Vegas Insider, joining us here in a second. Are there any props that are popping into your head? I know the official prop numbers come out on Thursday, but knowing what we know about both of these teams at the moment, is there anything that you're kind of sniffing around? You're waiting to see what the number is on it, and then you're going to pounce early?
Well, you wonder. I mean, obviously, it's going to be Burrow and Stafford passing yards. You want to see what they'll do with Jamar Chase and Cooper Kupp, and Beckham. Those are probably the big ones that everyone's going to keep an eye on. Because really, I don't know how many people are going to get excited about Joe Mixon rushing yards or any of the Rams running backs, Cam Akers, anybody like that. But again, it goes back to this: if you think the Bengals are going to lose, go over on Burrow passing yards. If they're trailing, he's going to rack up yards. Passing. Burrow's probably going to get around 2 something at least. That he's been doing that throughout the postseason. Or here's another one too: longest field goal. Evan McPherson, great leg. Matt Gay, remember he was dealing with some kind of leg injury or something like that last week in Tampa Bay. But Evan McPherson kicked the ball a mile, and now he's not dealing with any weather. So do you go over whatever the longest field goal is? If it's 48, if it's 50 something yards, do you go over that? That could be a potential. Maybe for a guy like McPherson, who feels like hasn't missed a kick all year.
Yeah, I think he's 10 for 10 this postseason or something like that, 11 for 11. He's got the rookie record for field goals in a postseason. I'm sniffing around the tight end over yardage number for Tyler Higbee because the Bengals defense does not defend tight ends well. They were 26th in the NFL in pass defense against tight ends. And Travis Kelce, I put money on him today. I think his his number was 73.5, and I think he got close to 100 yards receiving. He might have gone even over that. Easy money there. So just take a look at that Higbee number, because Stafford likes Higbee. He's talented. And, it's not like Stafford is doing fantastic with these deep balls of late. So a tight end underneath the defense against a defense that isn't A+ against tight ends, I think Higbee could have a nice little game for himself.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us, the Rams laying 3.5 against the Bengals at BetMGM, total of 49.5. And some other books, it's around 4, total at about 50. So 49.5, 50, that's where it's trending right now. So early money on the Rams and the over, really no shock there. And the Rams, again, playing in their home stadium. They're technically the visiting team coming up 2 weeks from today at SoFi Stadium. It's an afternoon game. It's a 6:30 Eastern kickoff, but a 3:30 Pacific kickoff. So they'll be kicking off in the afternoon for whatever that's worth. But that's coming up. And again, a matchup. I don't think people are totally shocked the Rams are in this game, but obviously the Bengals. Great story, 4 wins last year. Weren't expected to do much this year. And, it just goes back to Joe Burrow that he won a championship at LSU. Now he's in the Super Bowl. And you left a note, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
What, 3 quarterbacks that
So
have,
he would, if
yeah,
he does pull this off, which would be very impressive, right? For everything we talked about with Dave and Joe. But if he can pull this off, he will be the 3rd quarterback in the history of the Super Bowl to win both a college national championship and a Super Bowl. He'll be joining 2 other very famous Joes, Joe Montana, Joe Namath. Add Joe Burrow to that list if he can pull this off. So legendary stuff on deck here for Burrow, whose story is just so cool and so fun to go back and read about. Was the backup at Ohio State, didn't see a path to getting on the field, went over to LSU, had one of the 2 greatest years in college football history, especially his final year. That LSU team, arguably one of the greatest single season teams in college football history. Number 1 pick, goes back to his home state, and look where he is now. So it's just so fun, man. I love it. I'm in love with this Bengals team.
Now, let's bring on your cohort, Hall of Fame kicker, Morten Andersen, who is joining us now. And Morten, first of all, we welcome you. And secondly, you kicked a game-winning field goal on the road to take your team to a Super Bowl, like Evan McPherson did today for the Bengals against the Chiefs. What's that feeling like where you say, all right, all the pressure's on me to get this team to the Super Bowl? You did it. Evan McPherson, who's been fantastic this postseason, did it as well.
Well, he did it the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He did it. He had a 52-yard in Tennessee. So it's old hat for him. As a rookie, I mean, it's unbelievable what he's been able to do. Special. As far as my kick back in '99, I mean, that was a foregone conclusion. That sounds arrogant. I don't mean it to, but why are you laughing, Freeze? You've heard this so many times. You've heard
Hold
it
on a
many
sec.
times.
You had all the pressure on yourself, Morten, because Gary Anderson didn't miss a kick that year, so there's no way that you could have given him another shot if you missed.
Well, the good thing about me was I missed early and often, so there was no pressure on me to be perfect.
Touche.
Yeah, and pressure only happens when your skill set doesn't match the task. But anyway, I digress. The kick was done, Saturday night, the days before, and I talk about this all the time on our pod, and it is. It's just luck favors the exceptionally prepared, and Evan McPherson. I hope you didn't mind, Freeze. I used your nickname for him, Nails. And then Sebastian, my oldest son, called me and said, I don't think that's going to have a lot of hang time, Dad, Nails. So I don't know. So anyway, he's Nails for now. I did have a few followers on that one, a few likes, but he is an amazing kid, man, for a young kicker. And to your point, I mean, there are perceived pressure situations. There's no question. Evan has been perfect in postseason. I don't think he's missed. and he's made huge kicks, and he's made a difference for his team. I'm stoked for the Bengals. Did not expect that. I mean, the reason the Chiefs lost was because they went for it right before the half. It was a bad decision. That was a terrible decision. Should have kicked a field goal. They got greedy. There's an old saying that hogs get slaughtered, pigs get fat. And they were being hogs. They were.
I love that saying.
But
That's
they
great.
were. I mean, but they really were. I mean, they were being a little arrogant. 5 seconds to go. Take the points. And if you get those 3, it's a whole different ballgame.
Morten, I want your opinion on this just because you're a Hall of Fame kicker and you've been around this. Going back to a few weeks ago when we had that Chiefs-Chargers Thursday night game and Brandon Staley, the coach of the Chargers, was passing up makeable field goal attempts to get more points, to get touchdowns. And I'm not just saying against the Chiefs, but just in general, when you watch as a former kicker and you say, take the points, like that situation at the end of the half, take the points. Do you think a lot of these coaches are just trying too much, not because they don't trust their field goal kicker, but they're trying too much to get the extra points when you would win the game if you just took the 3? That's automatic.
I think a lot of the coaches look at analytics, unfortunately, instead of their gut. And they say, well, the numbers tell me this, so I must go for that. Where the good coaches, the ones that are intuitive, they make their own decisions, irregardless of numbers, irregardless of what the stats or the analytics say. And, that's where I'm at. If I'm a head coach, if it feels right and I know my team, I'm going to do what I want to do, regardless of what the analytics say. So, but I always say, if you have a bird in the hand, is always better, right? That's my opinion. So, in the case of the Chiefs today, absolutely should have taken those points right before the half, and I think it's a difference in the ballgame.
Absolutely. Now, Kevin, you mentioned this right before we brought Morten on, and I've been thinking about it since you said it. The game kicks off at 3:00 Pacific time or something like that.
Yeah.
And Morten, you've played in every stadium in every time slot here, but
6:20,
to have
it's usually 6:25, 6:28.
right.
Yeah.
And so to have the Super Bowl played at such an early time for them out on the West Coast, they have to do all of that crap all week. And then the day of the game, better than us, there's obligations that you have to do that day probably, right? So to have all of that stuff.
No, nothing on the day.
Nothing on that day. Okay.
No. You may have an internal, you may have a meeting. You're going to have a breakfast, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a 3 kick, you're going to get to the stadium at noon, 1 o'clock. There'll be 2 buses. There'll be an early bus, and there'll be a bus that will get there no later than 2 hours before kick. That's just the way it goes.
That's pretty standard.
That's absolutely standard.
Yeah, because I was thinking that, the crazy week leading up to it, and then it's sort of like, okay, now we're not even playing the Super Bowl in a primetime slot, really. You are for the rest of the country, but in LA, it's 3:00 for them. So I just feel like maybe that is something to kind of think about heading into the game.
They've been out there for a week. They've been there. Cincinnati's going to go out there on probably Sunday. I think, before the game, right? A week early, Monday.
Yeah,
maybe?
they'll do press that day. Yep.
They'll do press on Tuesday.
Well, don't they do like a Sunday night now? It's like an event. They do it's like a thing on NFL Network now, right, Kevin? Where they do like the special media thing.
Well, the media day used to be on Tuesday, during the day. Now I think it's like Monday night, I believe, not Sunday.
Yeah.
It's like Monday night, and it's a whole thing. It's not as crazy as it was. Now, Morten, I want to ask you this: that now second straight year, we saw Tampa Bay staying at home last year, and they played Kansas City. LA staying at home, that you don't have the distraction of having to travel. The Bengals, part of it, I think part of the charm is going to a different city and playing the Super Bowl. How much do you think that would affect the Rams positively or negatively? That yes, they don't have to travel, but also, it's thrown off that they're both not on the same level as far as that point. Do you think that's an issue or not?
I like the Bengals here because they get away from their city. They're the underdog. They'll probably be the underdog. I don't know the early line. I haven't heard that, but
it's 3.5.
Bengals are dogs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not surprising. I think it works to the disadvantage of the Rams to be at home. All right, they're in a big market. They just won the NFC Championship game, albeit it wasn't pretty, but they won it. And we could talk about why they won it. That's easy to identify. But I do think that with the distractions and being around there, there's a lot of noise out in LA right now, and a lot of things that really has nothing to do with the game that's going to be played in 2 weeks. I remember from Miami when we played, there was a 2-week period between the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl, and I remember just like, you're reading headlines, how great you are and this and that. And that's what the Rams are going to be doing in LA, in one of the biggest media markets in the world. And we get to Miami, and Denver had been there the year before, and they knew what was up. We had no clue what was going on. It hit us in the face. The Rams haven't been there that much. I think it's their fifth chance at a bowl. Is that right? Fifth chance, something like that. But they haven't won a bunch. This is it's not old hat for the Rams. Certainly not an old hat for the Bengals either. But I just feel like the Bengals going on the road, they've been dogs the whole way through. They went to Tennessee, they were underdogs, right? They were at home against the Raiders. They were favored, I think, and they won a close game and went to Tennessee, another 3-point game there, and then Kansas City. So I just feel like the Bengals with a chip on their shoulder, they'll go and they'll be fine. They'll be insulated. Where the Rams, everybody knows them around the city. It's a distraction to me I don't know. That's just my feeling. It's my gut feeling that I like the Bengals right now.
Now, you say you like the Bengals, and I totally understand that. And we've talked, you and I, about Evan McPherson a bunch. We talked about him earlier on the show with you and with everyone else. If you could talk to Evan McPherson right now ahead of this game, he's the hot guy right now, right? Everyone's on Evan McPherson. What would you tell him? What advice would you give him now that he's the hot commodity headed into this game? He's one of the 5 or 6 names that's going to get mentioned by everyone heading into this one.
Don't change a thing. Keep rolling. Come on. He's absolutely balling. He's got, and you can see it in his eyes. He's very confident. I heard he went up in the last game and told Burrow, "Hey man, unbelievable." Before his kick, he said, before a 52-yarder, he said to Burrow, "Can you believe we're going to the AFC Championship game?" Who does that? It's a first-year player. It's unbelievable. So I can't tell him anything that he's not doing. This would be obtuse of me. So.
It's sort of like just hands off. I'm
going to keep my mouth shut, man.
Yeah.
The guy is balling. Yeah.
Well, what about too, Morten? I guess the controlled atmosphere of SoFi Stadium, that you don't have to worry. I know there's not a lot of Super Bowls in bad weather places, but to have that as not a factor, that these guys should basically, I don't want to say make every kick, but I'm not saying a 60-yarder, but you would think that both McPherson, who's been basically perfect, Matt Gay, who he's been dealing with some leg issues. That's what they said in the Tampa Bay game. But, these guys should be, pretty much playing in a controlled environment, should be knocking down their kicks next or in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, guys. Not great at this phone.
I should have emailed you the link, Morten. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, you really should have. Being my producer, this is bullshit, by the way. So I got news for you. We're going to have a debrief after this.
Yeah, I should have emailed it. Hey, you got a good setup right now, though. There you go. Nice and propped up.
Yeah, both my hands are cramping right now. My shoulders are burning. Like I've been doing shrugs, like 50 reps of shrugs.
We'll have some film study afterwards and get better. That's what we do.
You get better. I'm fine. What's the question again?
It was about the controlled environment at SoFi Stadium. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I had a controlled environment here right now where I could have my fucking iPhone just sitting on a steady, somewhere where I don't have to hold it.
You should have used the bus behind you. You should have used the bus to hold it.
Lean it up against the bus.
Let me try that. Let's see if that works.
That's good.
I'll
See,
put
why
it on
am I
top.
the one with all the ideas here?
I love that idea. Actually,
This is why they pay Kevin the big bucks.
See, we
What if I
lost them.
put it in my smelly shoe?
This is the beauty of
This-
live
this
broadcasting
might
right
work.
here.
This might work right here. Hold on, guys.
Here we go. So we're shoving Morton's phone into an old kicking shoe here.
Just
It'll work.
figured it out.
That's
Look at
beautiful. Look at
that.
that.
So I took. This is one of my shoes, right? Look, another one. It's right behind my phone right now. Huh? You got to shave these cleats. Scrape them.
Well, can I, Morton? Can I ask you
In a controlled
non-
environment, this is what you want to answer your question.
Okay, I want to ask you another kicking question, non-Super Bowl
go ahead.
question. Guys that played like in the 70s and 80s, I guess, what would you say, like Rick Carlos and Tony Franklin, guys, they
Old
kick
people?
barefoot, right? Did they kick barefoot?
Well, you had Mike Lansford with the Rams.
Yeah.
He was a barefooter.
How do you
He'll
kick
be at the
barefoot?
game.
Like how do you do it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's stupid because you can't get a shoe contract. Number one. I mean, let's face it. Nike's not going to come calling and go, nice foot. Put a swoosh on that.
You get a Nike swoosh tat on your foot. Go that route.
So you had so let's see how many barefooted kickers we can mention. You want me to go first?
Yeah,
I know
You
zero.
guys can-
So
Mike Lansford, Rich
Yeah.
Carlos,
yeah,
Paul McFadden,
3.
Tony Franklin.
yeah.
That's it. That's all I got. 4 guys. Anybody else?
That's 4 more than I could name.
I think by the 90s, I think everyone was required to wear shoes. I don't think that they did that.
They changed the rules. You cannot be barefoot anymore. I believe it's the same with the straight.
That was a
on kick.
rule,
You cannot-
seriously?
I don't think you're allowed to be barefoot, and you're not allowed to kick on straight on anymore because there was steel in the top of the toe, and you could hit somebody in the, privates or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
the
not
toe,
safe.
the toe blow, I guess. Is that what they call
The
it?
toe blow.
Isn't
I like
that when,
that.
when you're kicking it straight?
Yeah, the toe blow.
Yeah. I'm
We
surprised you
gotta
never heard that one.
prioritize.
After all these years, never heard that. I'm shocked. I gave you gave you a new term.
Got to prioritize player safety.
I like that. But in a controlled environment, I mean, it's nice. I mean, I spent 21 years in a controlled environment, so I was very happy with kicking, kicking indoors. However, my numbers were just as good outside. So I don't know. It's nice to just be able to aim for the middle and let it rip. You know what I mean?
I have one other non-Super Bowl question. What are your thoughts on Sean Payton, on him stepping aside with the Saints? And you're obviously a long time with the Saints and a lot of connections to the organization. What did you think about that move and where they go from here? Obviously, the quarterback situation was in question this year. You don't have Drew Brees anymore. It changes things. But Sean was obviously huge there for the Saints. They won a Super Bowl. Where do you think they go from here, and your thoughts on him stepping aside?
I think it was well thought out. This was not a situation where he just said, "Well, I'm out." He spent so many years there, and I think the interesting thing was that Drew Brees and Sean Payton, their careers mirrored each other. They came in together, kind of, and they grew together, and they were successful together, and they won a hell of a lot of games. They communicated. They just got it. It was a great partnership for them, for the team, for the city, for everybody. And I think when Drew left, it clarified to Sean the fact that you win championships with elite quarterbacks, and if you don't have that, you're rebuilding. And clearly, I mean, no disrespect to the 2 guys we have, the 3 guys we have right now with the Saints, but it is a rebuilding mode. I mean, it's not a championship team. They have a very good defense, you know, and Sean knows that, and we all know that, and they play well, but you have to score points, you know. You have to score points, and can't compete against these teams out there that can, you know, put 40 points up. And that's what we used to do. That's what the Saints used to do with Drew Brees. So I think Sean just realized that, you know, that's for somebody else to do at this point, you know. And he decided to step back, and I can't blame him. I think we'll see him in a booth. You know, I absolutely think we'll see him doing games or studio. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think we will.
Yeah, I think that's inevitable. I mean, at some point, maybe we'll get him on the podcast and talk about it. I know that
we will.
We've had him on in the past, and
we'll have him on again for sure.
Yeah, and it seems like that's what it's.
And now we'll get Brady. We'll have a good chance to get Brady now. Finally.
What do you think about Tom stepping aside at this point? I mean, I think
has he officially? You know, yeah, I don't know.
According to Schefter, yes. I think Brady finally said that he is retiring. I mean, you would think it's true. I'm saying from that standpoint that it's been announced. But do you think that Tom, it was unfinished business leaving the Patriots, going somewhere else, and winning a Super Bowl, which he did in his first year in Tampa, which was crazy, and still had a great year this year in spite of losing to now the NFC champion Rams? Do you think that this was the right time for him? Because I think Tom still had enough in the tank there, but probably was like, okay, I'm done with this.
I don't think it was unfinished business for Tom. I think he's done it. He could have won 9. He won 7 if it hadn't been for Eli Manning on 2 of them. So he's the GOAT. You know, I think he just I think this has been going on for a while. He did what he wanted to do in Tampa. Last year, he won a world championship. This year, fell a little short. Okay, there's no disrespect there at all. I mean, he played at a very high level. I just think he's got other priorities. 44 years old, and you know, he's done everything in the game. More money than he could ever spend, probably, and wants to spend more time with his wife and kids and do other things. Gosh, who knows what he wants to do or where he ends up. It's going to be fun to watch. You know, just, I mean, we all, when I stepped away from the game, you know, it was scary as hell. But once I found my way, it was really fun. You know, it's really, really fun and exciting and exhilarating. And Tom will have a tremendous opportunities and lots of projects. So he'll be more busy, you know, retired than playing.
And most importantly, Morten, he falls 64 games short of your NFL record, 382 games played.
Well, again, I mean, yeah, okay.
Hey, it's right there in black and white.
I know, but I know.
Dude, take it where you can get it. Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
It's good for the brand.
Is it? I mean, is that what we're going with?
Yeah. Speaking of the brand, Great Dane Nation, check it out. We drop every Wednesday afternoon, evening, perfect for that afternoon drive commute or your Thursday morning commute. Huge names. This week, we have the greatest gunner in the history of the NFL, Steve Tasker, joining us.
The greatest cheater.
And you'll hear more about that cheating incident on the podcast on Wednesday. 2 weeks from now.
Scam artist.
We'll have Eli Manning joining us next Wednesday on the podcast. 2-time Super Bowl champion, getting us ready for the big game. So check it out, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on the Vegas Insider YouTube channel right here. So Great Dane Nation. Follow us on Twitter at Great Dane Nation, Instagram at Great Dane Nation VI. And it's a great time. If you love football, you'd love this podcast. So come check it out.
Eli was fun. Steve Tasker. It's the guy you were talking about, the cheater.
Yeah.
And
he's great too.
We get. Oh, he was fantastic. not a cheater. He just he jumped the A gap when he's not supposed to in a game, in a very important game for us.
Cost you a few thou.
That's what you call a tease right there. We're teasing the episode.
That's right. That's a big market
Steve
tease.
Tasker, he went to a lot of Super Bowls there in the 90s with that Bills team.
All 4 of them.
Yeah,
all 4 of them in a row, and talks about that a little bit. And fantastic guest, really good guest. Eli was fantastic. We had a lot of fun about, little brother back and forth about pay.
A lot of fun Manning cast stuff.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun Manning cast stuff, and he was just Eli's so laid back. It was really fun to just because our very first pod was with his dad Archie. That was Great Dane Nation number 1.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, 18, 19 months ago. How long has it been? I don't know.
Yeah, heading into week 1 of last NFL season, episode 1, Archie Manning, and now episode 75 is going to be Eli Manning.
That's kind of cool. So he was fun. He was light. That's the only way I can describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fun. So good guests and more good guests to come, and it's been a blast doing Great Dane Nation. And we always enjoyed having you on, representing Vegas Insider as well. And it's a great partnership. It really is. We're trying to grow the audience, and it's fun.
Well, Morten, we appreciate your time as always, and Great Day Nation podcast. It keeps on rolling on. You can find it also on our podcast page on Vegas Insider. And Morten, we appreciate the time as always.
Yeah.
And I guess before we let you go, quick prediction on the game?
Yeah, I got the Bengals. Donald was dominating against the Niners. I mean, he affected the most important play in the game, and Garoppolo made a huge mistake trying to scramble and just underhand throw it and intercept it. That was that was the game. But it's Aaron Donald that does it, So he's a force, but I love what Burrows is doing, with his LSU buddy there, number 1. So we'll see what happens.
Well, final
day. Morten loves the who day.
Oh, I love the who day.
Well, final thing, Morten, then we'll let you go. Your favorite Bengals kicker of all time, your favorite Rams kicker of all time, or who?
Jim Breach. And the Rams kicker, I'll go with Lansford, the barefooter.
I thought you were going to say Tony Zendejas, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, he had some Zendejas guys, but there was some shenanigans. I'm going to stay with Lansford.
Okay.
I was a Legatron guy. I was a Greg Zuerlein guy back in the day.
Zuerlein,
in his prime, he had an absolute rocket for a leg.
Okay. Well, we'll see if that sticks more than nails.
Morten, thank you. Good night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Good night, and have a good one. See you guys.
All right, you too. Thank you.
See you, buddy.
Morten Andersen, and he's got that shoe. See, you got a hack for him, man, with the phone and the shoe.
I should have emailed him the link. I thought that maybe he had the texting thing on his computer like I do. It just, I was thinking like a millennial. I needed to put myself in the mind of a Hall of Famer, which is tough for me to do.
Selfie stick. That's what you got to deliver. A selfie stick, so he could have hold it out because he was kind of holding it.
Yeah, No, he found great call by you. Shove it against the bus. You got two in there.
I'm like, why is the cameraman so shaky? Why is he moving all over the place?
Hey man, no, Morton's the best. He's the absolute best, man. So zero ego on that guy. He's been an incredible teammate, and I think a lot of people are going to look to the Bengals here like Morten did because they have the juice, right? They have that momentum. The casual gambler is going to say, Burrow is the guy I see the most on my memes, so I'm going to throw money on the Bengals here. And I wonder how much that will end up affecting the line heading into the game. I really do feel like as the week progresses, you're going to see the public putting a good percentage towards Cincinnati. But Kevin, before we head out here, I want to get you on the record right now It's early. You have every right in the world to change the way you feel as things adjust. That's the beauty of this.
I don't know how that works in this world, because you say it one time right now. Hey man, you said right for the Super Bowl. You thought the Rams would win,
but it doesn't lock until kickoff, right? I mean, let's be real here.
No, the internet locks all the time, man. You know that the internet loses.
So we're gonna hold off on an official prediction here, or can you give me a lean on each?
By the
ATS, money line, and over under.
Really quick, the line is still a 3.5 at BetMGM, but it's moving up to 4 at a lot of places. So people are jumping on the Rams right now. The one thing I could look at, though, again, initial lean. I know you're not allowed to change your mind ever in this business, but
I will let you. But I understand what you're saying.
The 3 straight unders in the Super Bowl are really intriguing. That now you have another under, and the way Cincinnati's defense has been so far, I mean, can this game just be in the 20s? And I mean, we could see the Rams win it, 27-10 or something like that. But 3 straight unders in these Super Bowls, and the last 2 years, 2 of the last 3 years, we've seen a team lose and score in single digits rather. Rams and Chiefs were pretty good offensively, and they scored in single digits in losses. So, and LA's offense really didn't do a lot today either. For the most part, it was 17-7 until they scored the 13 unanswered. Both teams are pretty good defensively. I would lean more under. I'm not ready to make a game pick yet.
So I'm just taking a look at these numbers here and thinking about everything we've talked about. And I'm going to lean under as well. I'm going to lean Rams. So I'll sprinkle the money line, and I'll take them at 3.5, because I think I'll try and get it at 3.5 as soon as I can. Because I'm thinking we're going to see like a 24-20 final score here. I don't think it's going to be fireworks. I think both defenses have been playing really, really well. I think Aaron Donald is going to disrupt everything, because that's what he does. And I think Burrow's going to have trouble moving the ball. I would have said 24-17, but I'm giving McPherson a couple field goals, because he's just been so hot. Like, might as well. So I go 24-20. And again, I'm giving myself permission to change my mind. I don't know about you, but right now, 24-20, Rams 3.5. I'll take them at -165 and take the under at 49.5.
I'll tell you something, Tom. This was a lot of fun. This was really good. We able to jump right on after, all the talk shows. Everyone's going to do this tomorrow, but to start this right after the Rams game and to just get it out there, the Rams laying 3.5, 4. And again, that number is going to jump in the Rams' favor because they're at home. And Morten, I'll say this before we get out of here. Morten brought up some good points that Cincinnati, they're going through the, again, first time of going to a Super Bowl in a very long time. But they get out of town where LA is not stuck in town, but now you have 2 weeks to sit on a game and not even travel. That half of it, I think, is doing the trip and all that. But also this note I want to bring up that last year, Tampa Bay, remember, they played the 3 road games, then played at home in the Super Bowl, and they were a dog. Now the Rams are favored. So, I mean, the Bucs were still getting points in that game at home last year. They dominated. Now the Rams, they've gotten to this point, beating the 49ers, playing the home game. Everyone, I don't want to say is down. I was down on the Bengals as far as I did not think they would win this game at all today. Rams-Niners was a toss-up. But that the Bengals, no shot. That I don't know if I'm going to exactly say, well, the Bengals, they put it all out there against Kansas City. That who's got the pressure on them in this game, Tom?
Rams.
Absolutely. Bengals have no pressure on them. This is like a dream. Them
it's
getting
cake.
to this point.
Yep. It's all gravy for them. No, it's a great point. And they're going to have all that home pressure. A week of maybe celebrating more than they would have if the game wasn't at home, right? I think the Bucs last year benefited from the fact that they were, road, and it was like the homecoming of being, in the Super Bowl. It's like we made it. Like they were. It was like the sigh of relief, and they could just, go out and play loose, and they looked so loose against Kansas City last year, and it's not going to be the same deal for the Rams here. So I I like what you're saying, and it's making me feel comfortable that it's going to be a close game. I still think LA is going to come out on top, but we got 2 weeks to talk about this, which is always fun heading into a Super Bowl. And the best place to come talk about it is at Vegas Insider. Check out the website, all of the great written content. You got the Daily Insider here on the YouTube channel, Bet and Collect podcast, Great Dane Nation. We'll have some great lead-up content to the Super Bowl. Follow us on Twitter at Vegas Insider. Follow us on Instagram at Vegas Insider HQ. Check out the TikTok, Vegas Insider HQ. I know Kevin loves TikTok. And Facebook, our new Facebook page. Search Vegas Insider, throw us a like. So come hang out. Come make money with us.
Tom Carroll, thank you so much. And I know that you don't really come on the Daily Insider. We need to change that and get you more on the Daily Insider.
I'm ready.
But I know you're ready. You are ready to rock and roll. And our thanks look, we had some great guests tonight. Dave Sharapan, he hopped on. He'll be on the Daily Insider coming up tomorrow at noon Eastern. Joe Murray from 98.5, the Sports Hub in Boston, also his podcast, the Over Under 98.5 podcast, and also he's on NBC Sports Boston as well. Morten Andersen for joining us, the Hall of Famer. And just a lot of fun. For Tom Carroll, I am Kevin Rogers, and thank you so much for tuning into the special edition of the Daily Insider. We'll be back with you coming up on Monday at noon Eastern. And Tom, if you don't know already, as always, best of luck with your bets.